Hey everyone, today I'm joined by Alex at 506.io. They work specifically within the Shopify world. Alex and his team bring new apps to the e-commerce market and have individual PMs to manage each app to make sure that they get the most from the apps. Their current apps are Easy Gift, Get Sale, Easy Scan and Exchange It. We'll discuss these in more detail to understand the differences for their clients. They've had some incredible reviews from the merchants, 6.9 stars on Shopify App Store. And we go through Alex's background as well, go through sort of how he keeps his team to high standards and discussing the good, bad and the ugly of growing a business. So, Alex, for people who don't know who you are, like give a bit of a background about you and sort of where you've got to in terms of 506, please.
Sure, absolutely. Hi, Luke. Thank you very much for the invite to join your podcast. This is really exciting and very pleased to be here. So our background is I've had 6 years in the sort of internet and e-commerce space. Prior to that, I did 5 years actually working as a marine engineer doing renewable energy projects, so in a completely different area of engineering, but very, very interesting nonetheless. Then in the last 3 years specifically, we decided to focus on Shopify apps themselves. And that's really been our main sort of cup of tea for the last 3 years, as I said. Prior to that, we had a men's watch e-commerce business that wasn't the most successful thing in the world. That's probably the ugly, but we'll get into that, I'm sure, in due course.
Absolutely. Bit of a difference, right, from what you're doing I know it's still engineering, of course, different types of things, but what apart from like going into the watch side, but what was it just one day you're like, why am I doing this? I want to do something else. Like, what was the change?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, it was almost like that. The sector of engineering I was working in was the renewable energy side of things, and if anyone knows a little bit about it, the sort of funding and everything like that changes a lot. And we'd just gone through a period where all the funding changed. So a few of the projects I was meant to be working on next, they all got put on hold. And genuinely, I was sat at home at Christmas, and my brother had just come back from living and working in San Francisco. And the two of us were sat down having a beer after eating some turkey, and sort of thought, well, you're not up to anything, and I'm a bit bored doing what I'm doing, so why don't we have a look at doing something else? That's how we changed. And then actually we were very lucky, and our parents had run a women's fashion mail order business back in the 90s.
Okay.
Which we used to sort of see as kids, and work with them in our summer holidays and things like that, packing boxes and seeing everyone answering calls and sending out catalogs and things. So this is pre-e-commerce. This is before e-commerce was even a thing. We were kind of seeing that as kids, and so kind of a little bit inspired by what they did, we decided that we wanted to sell our own product as well. And actually, we decided to start off with watches, because both of us really into watches, kind of from a engineering background as well myself. They're kind of quite kind of nerdy. I like the really kind of intricate nature of them. So yeah, that's how we then decided, hell, why don't we start a men's watch business and try and sell some watches?
How many beers deep were you at this point, Alex? How many?
Oh, probably about 6. Yeah, 6. That was a lot of turkey at that point. Yeah, it was a pretty mad idea. Yeah.
And then, so you've done the watches for, you say, about 3 years, is that right?
We did the watches for 18 months, and then really that then led to sort of a big decision kind of in our sort of work career, where we basically had to take the sort of difficult sort of view on things, where it just wasn't working as well as we really wanted. We buried a reasonable amount of capital into it, and we could see that it just wasn't quite heading in the direction we really needed it to. I'll use the awful word that comes up in tech, where people say they needed to pivot, and we did, and actually ended up moving into the software side of things, and that's how we got into the Shopify apps. Our original store was already a Shopify store. My brother's very much the CTO of our business and is much more on the technical side of things. And he had done a lot of custom coding to the site to make it do all sorts of fancy things that wasn't sort of native to Shopify. And so we kind of took a view that, hang on, some other people might want this functionality as well. So we decided to build it out into some apps and things like that. So yeah,
that's how some of the best stories start, isn't it? Really, and sort of best sort of ideas start is, as anyone says, you don't have a business unless you're solving someone else's problem. Usually, especially in the software world, like. If you can't think of what the issue is, then there's probably not that's probably not there. So The fact that you saw
Exactly.
it
And one
firsthand.
of the things everyone's trying to do with their online stores is, you go through all the effort of getting a customer, and then once you got a customer, you're trying to, it sounds bad, but extract as much money from them as you possibly can. That's basically your aim. And, we were selling watches, and then we were also trying to upsell like a strap to go with it. So it was, buy a watch and, a strap would cost you another £30, but if you buy it with a watch, it only costs you £10. And so that's basically what led to one of our first apps and our biggest app, which was all about this idea of automatically adding products to carts based on certain criteria. And we custom coded that ourselves on our own store, and then decided to make it public and make it for other people.
What was that app called? Is that one of the four we've already discussed?
Yeah, so that's EasyGift. That's EasyGift. It's great for, as I said, as the name suggests, automatically adding gifts to people's carts, and we've it's now grown and evolved a little bit into a really powerful sort of upsell and cross-sell tool that allows you to basically increase the average order value you're getting from your traffic and from your customers, which can just, that's just more profit for your store. That's the thing. You got the same marketing costs no matter what. So if you've got that person onto your site and they're now clicking around, once they're on your store, you want to get as much revenue as you possibly can out of them. Yeah.
Nice. And how does it work from a like a retailer or brand point of view to get Easy Gift? I know you're on the App Store, but how does that sort of process usually work from a retailer point of view? How do people find you?
Yeah, absolutely. So our main focus has been the Shopify App Store itself and trying to really improve our organic ranking. So if anyone's looking for any sort of promotions, upsells, free gifts, any sort of keywords like that, we really try to position ourselves as high as we possibly can in the search rankings.
Yep.
And one of the big things there is actually the reviews, which you mentioned earlier. And there's a natural sort of part of the algorithm there that the higher your rating and the more reviews you have, the higher your position and the easier it is for other store owners to find your app. So that's been a really major focus for us, and I'm sure we'll talk about it more, but just trying to deliver really, really good customer service and really, really help our merchants when they get onto the app. And, we provide all sorts of really neat features. We've got chat support on there, and we always try to turn around any customer service queries within 2 to 4 hours. And we love to get in there and help customize things and improve them for people's stores. So
Brilliant.
we have a neat little bit where you can upsell different products, and within that basically shows a little modal, like a little pop-up page, and we're always, they can fully customize that to match a theme. So we'll always jump on and help if someone needs a hand and try to ensure we can match all the colors and match the fonts and things like that. So that's the big one for us, is just trying to really integrate whatever we're doing into someone's store and just have happy customers, really, or happy merchants.
Yeah, absolutely. Nice. What would you say has been your biggest challenge you faced today with 506.io? What has it been the things you look back on with the biggest headaches almost?
Definitely. I think the biggest one for us, like easily, was the transition from the e-commerce store into the Shopify apps themselves. We didn't know much about the App Store at the time, and we weren't really sure what was going to happen. It was a bit of a step into the unknown. We had the idea of, we're clearly not very good at selling the watches. That didn't go so well. So we thought, all right, we'll try and do the software side of it. But that was pretty challenging. And I think we just really sort of tried to make sure that the first thing we did was deliver a good product to the store owners. That was the first thing. So if you have 0 installs, there's really not very much you can do. But even if you have 3, 4 installs, you just got some people to talk to, and you just try and talk to them and say, what do you want? How can I help? How can we make this better? And it kind of just grew from there. And that was definitely a really interesting time. And then after that, we had the dreaded COVID was quite an interesting one for us as well. The whole team at that point, we had a team of 4 of us all working together in a nice little office in London. Then you all have to switch to remote working and sort of maintain, efficient and sort of a high standard of work at that time was really quite challenging. And also, particularly at that time, e-commerce was having an absolute boom as well. So the demand was really high. So, it wasn't like we could sit on our laurels and everything was, peaceful and easy. Everything particularly on our side, was just getting harder and harder. And we had more and more people with more and more complex problems that we were trying to solve. And yeah, that was pretty challenging. Yeah, that was pretty tough, but it was good fun. It
Yeah,
was very
sounds
good
like
fun.
it. And in terms of your day to day, like you probably touched on this a little bit to be fair, but why do you love what you do in terms of like your role in the business? Like what is it you absolutely love about your business?
Yeah, absolutely. So as I mentioned, the business is 50-50 between me and my brother. He's the CTO, he's the head of the sort of technical side of things, and I'm much more on the operational side of things.
Uh-huh.
But I think what I really enjoy is just like coming from an engineering background where I could see things physically being built and moving and everything like that. That was always what I used to really enjoy about that sort of time that I was doing. And now I think it changes into the software version of that, where you can see something when it's some built really nicely, some really elegant code, some really elegant solutions, and you can see it all working, seamlessly and efficiently for merchant stores. I think that's really the cool thing. And it's just such a big range of people that you end up meeting and talking to. We absolutely don't mind hopping on a call with a merchant anywhere. You're talking to people in Australia and New Zealand, and then in America, and then anywhere in between. And it's just great fun learning about other people's businesses and what they're selling and things like that. The variety of things I could tell you that we've seen stores selling are not particularly PG always, but it is amazing the variety of stuff. I'll keep it to the nice things, but yeah, everything from all the skincare products through to pet sort of accessories and to clothing, and we had a store selling surfboards and all sorts of things. It's been brilliant. Lots of sweeties.
Yeah,
Shout out to Candy Kittens. We got Candy Kittens using one of our apps.
love
Yeah, all
that.
sorts. So that's one of the most fun things. That's what I really enjoy is, yeah, we got a great team, and then just talking to a lot of the store owners and just hearing what they're selling and how it's going, and seeing their operations, how they're running it, looking at how they've designed their stores, because everyone can make their Shopify store look completely different. None of them look the same. And it's just really cool to see the sort of passion that all the merchants have, and their products and their photography and everything that they're up to. It's really great. It's
Yeah,
really cool.
that's definitely the best thing about in terms of what we do as well in terms of like Fulfilled, because the ability to talk to you about what you're doing and the differences you're making with your clients, then the opportunity that I'll then speak to someone else about their Shopify website they're building for their clients, and they say we've got this problem and they have to solve it, or what do I do? Like having this conversation and be like, I can say to those sort of people, well, have you spoke to Alex yet? Because they've got these apps that can do X, Y, and Z, and the collaboration piece of I think that word has probably come up in every conversation and every podcast that we've done with Unfulfilled, is that collaboration piece is huge, isn't it? In terms of the learnings you share and all that side.
Definitely. I find it's absolutely brilliant, and it's so true. Talking just getting out there. Even you can't always go and see people in other countries or whatever, but definitely the collaboration is fantastic, and we really enjoy talking to merchants from our side as app developers to learn what they want and how we can improve their businesses as well. One of the apps that we're running, an app called Exchange It, is a really lightweight, thin exchange order app. So it's designed for, classic example, you order a blue t-shirt and you decide actually you want a red t-shirt. You can send it back to the store, and they can really easily, really quickly on one page, they can restock a blue t-shirt, create a new order for a red t-shirt, done. Really simple, super lightweight, nice and easy, and very cheap compared to what's competitors. But the more we talked to merchants and the more that we learned about people's stores, they kind of got to the stage where they were saying, oh, you know what, actually, Alex, we really want the customers to be able to do this via an online portal. They want a page on their store where the customer can enter their order number and their email address and say, oh, I ordered this blue t-shirt and I want to switch it for a red one. And they just press submit request. And then the merchant can see it, they get ping, little notification. They can just go in and sort that out straight away. They don't have to worry about having more customer service team on their side or anything like that. And so that's led to us building a massive new feature for that app, which is going to be a whole customer-facing returns and exchanges portal, which is going to be really exciting. So that's due to come out in the next 4 to 6 weeks.
Amazing. And is that how all of your sort of your 4 apps at the moment have all come from, just conversations with merchants and solving a problem for one, and then sort of expand on that going further?
Absolutely, 100%. So the first 2 apps, really the ideas for those came out of the watch business that we failed to start, and
They're very nice watches, Alex, by the way.
yeah, they
They are
thank you.
very nice.
So I've still got a couple in my garage if you want one. And those the first two apps, so that's Easy Gift and Easy Scan, came out of that business. So the first one, as I touched on earlier, was Easy Gift, which does the automatic adding to cart, which is really neat for our buying a watch and wanting to upsell a strap example. And then Easy Scan, I'll be really honest, was something that I really wanted because it was driving me mad. So we had all our different watches, all our different SKUs, all the different straps. We only had 3 different watches, but you had 6 different colorways. And suddenly just keeping track of the inventory and making sure that you packed the right items in a box was such a high pressure thing and taking so much time that we ended up doing Easy Scan, which is a really neat barcode scanning app. You can use it on your phone. It can create barcodes itself, and the idea is just that you can sit there with either a barcode scanner or using a mobile device, and it allows you to fulfill your orders. So you can just sit there and say, right, I need 2 watches and 4 straps. Get your phone out, bloop, 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 bloop. All goes in the box. Off you go, on to the next one. And you can also do your sort of inventory management and updating stock and things like that with that app as well. But again, similar example to Exchange It. We had that one's been going for about 2.5 years now, and we had some of our really top merchants who are using that app to process hundreds of orders a day have started to say that, we actually now need a users feature within the app. They need to know that it's Steve who's packing some boxes today, and then it's George who's packing some boxes in the afternoon. So we're now building out a users feature within that app that allows merchants to track who's been doing the packaging, who's been fulfilling the orders. They can then relate back to any errors, or just to track work rates and things like that, which again came straight from some really great conversations with merchants and just learning about their problems. And actually that app's been a great example for scaling with our customers, the people that first started using it, and their businesses are growing and we're still there. So
amazing.
Great.
And the last app you've not sort of talked about so far was the Get Sale app. So how's that all work?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, sorry, I should touch on that one as well. So Get Sale is a really neat one. That actually came from, primarily we use it for Black Friday is a really big time for it, but obviously any other sale period it's fantastic for. And this was just boiled down to a really, really simple problem we had, which was one day we decided that we wanted to discount all the watches by 10%. Tell you something, if you go into a Shopify store and want to change all your prices by 10% for every single product, it will take you bloody ages.
Okay.
So we decided instead, right, we're going to build an app, and you can put in a collection or a set of tags or however you want to segment out a group of products, and then say that I want to change the prices either to buy a fixed amount or to a fixed amount or by a percentage. And it'll do that on a schedule. And so you don't have to wake up at midnight to go and change your prices for a sale. You can just say, please change my prices by 20% on, midnight Saturday, and change them back again at 9 a.m. on Monday, and it'll just go away and do it for you. And that's again, very simple app, but it's been great, and merchants really love it, and it's been super helpful. We definitely get a bit nervous when it comes up to the holiday sort of season, because the load going through that thing's servers are quite impressive. We sort of end up, I think we end up running what they call 8 different pipelines. So that's basically 8 different queues, so you can handle 8 shops' price changes at once, which is quite impressive.
It is impressive,
yeah. That's got some serious technological infrastructure behind it, but it's a cool app. Yeah, it's good, that one.
Lucky to have a brother who's into this sort of the CTO world list, right?
Yeah, I definitely I turned to him on that one when it's sort of in the week before Black Friday. I'm definitely looking at him being like, how are you feeling about this, mate? Are we going to be all right?
and the response is pretty calm.
Normally he starts off calm. It changes the nearer we get. Amazing.
And in terms of your business then, so let's talk about the last sort of 4 years with 506.io. I guess how have you grown your business? You've grown obviously through the conversations and delivering new apps, but the reputation point of view, like how have you been able to develop that and maintain that over the years?
I think one of the big things for us is this seems sort of petty, but these these reviews that you get on the Shopify App Store are just huge, and you could take it away from the App Store. Imagine if anything else, and pick any example, and if you were shown, I don't know, 2 takeaway curry restaurants, and you say, well, one's got 5 stars and one's got 3.5, kind of which one are you going to go for? Everyone knows the answer. So the key thing for us is really, if we do get any customers who are unhappy with the apps and give us a bad review, we will always get in contact with them and try to help in any way we can to solve whatever their problem might be, just because everyone who is considering our apps, they all see these ratings. They're very public. Everyone can see what's there. So for us, that's really our public reputation is really held in those ratings, and in how we can go back to those customers and really try to help them in any way we can. And that's been a really interesting sort of process. And it means, particularly for me and my brother as the founders, sometimes work doesn't stop, and if it's a company in Australia or New Zealand and time zones wise, you're talking about 11 hours or something, you just got to jump on a call and ring them up and say, hey, I'm really sorry, we had a misunderstanding or whatever, and let's try and fix something for you. So not being afraid to do that, I think, has been really big for us. But as another sort of topic that we'll talk about later on, this idea of growing from a small business into a bigger business, and this idea that reputation and how to move forward is going to become a bigger part for us, and it's something we're trying to look into and really improve. Yeah,
hugely important. What makes your agency distinct from others in the marketplace, or your business distinct from others within the marketplace? Like, what would you say differentiates you and your products, your services from others who are also, I'm sure there's other apps that are out there similar to what you develop and build and release. So what is it that, apart from the reviews maybe, that draws them to you, do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Super, super important question. And one of those things that's really key. I think there's a tendency to, particularly in the software side of things, is kind of just to build everything. You just build everything as quickly as you can. Let's do it all. It's kind of like this idea of, let's have a salami knife. Well, what's wrong with just having a knife? You can go buy some pliers to go with your knife, and then you have the two. You don't need the Swiss Army knife. So really, that's our view. Is we don't have tons of apps. Our apps that we do have are very specific in what they do. We have been very careful about every feature that we add to them to ensure that they don't become some bear moth that does, absolute lots and lots of things badly. We say, no, let's be really specific. Let's really focus on what we think is very important to merchants, and just try to deliver that really, really well. That's been the really key thing for us. Has always been the temptation to get into all sorts of other aspects, but no, we just said, like, we're going to be really, really focused on the key functionality of our apps. And every time someone says, "Oh, can it do this?" we say, "Well, I'm sorry, but that might not be in the pipeline yet. We'll wait for some more people to ask for it," type thing. So
yeah. That's a great answer. I mean, it rings true with everything you do, but you should do anyway, in terms of actually making sure you are specifically actually fielding and resolving problems, rather than just, without this sound as bad as it's going to, having so many different options out there to try and drive as much revenue as possible and delivering half a service. Being so more focused is a much better way of doing it.
Absolutely. And, we're there looking at the App Store as much as anyone, if not even more than anyone else. Like, we know how many competitors there are. We know there's lots of other people who offer similar services to us. And the only thing that we can do is just, we don't go take on the very, very busy categories that have got lots of massive apps in them. We say, no, we're going to stick very, very focused on what we do, and just make sure that what we do really well. That's our focus.
And the future of the business, like, you talk about in terms of, you get merchants come to you and say, can it do this, can it do that? And you're like, well, maybe not right now, without giving away obviously your secrets, as obviously this will be going out and being broadcast. Have you got some ideas of other apps, or have you got a number in terms of, when we get to X, we're just going to stop and refine and sort of develop them?
Really interesting one. I think it's a hybrid of the two, is the honest answer. So okay. we have a small fifth app that is sort of in ring fenced and just carefully looked after at the moment and sort of being nurtured.
Uh-huh.
And that's one that we're working on quietly. And whilst it is public and it is available, we aren't sort of on it, full
Yeah,
steam
not
ahead.
shouting around it.
Exactly. And that's one that we want to make sure, again, going back to our mantra, has got to do absolutely what we needed to do 100%. So we're still going through that testing phase with some merchants and just making sure they're 100% happy with it before we'll really start to push it. And then otherwise, as we kind of mentioned, we'll keep our focus on the other 4 big apps we've got at the moment. And as we do get more requests, and you basically sit and say, right, there's a real feeling towards a certain feature, then we all sit down and we kind of say, right, okay, let's do this. We're ready. We think that the market's there. But in the long term, we might decide to either purchase an app. I think we're at a scale now where we could easily do that, or we would build another app. But I think if we were to build another app, we'd be very careful about what segment we would pick to make sure that it's something that fits our kind of views on not being too broad.
Yep. And then lucky merchants who have got their hands on this 5th one at the moment, how are they so lucky, or is it?
Yeah, absolutely. So that one goes. It's not a complete secret. It's an app called Cartix. It's a really great sidecar app, very popular segment actually in the App Store. But we decided to build it because it works very, very well in partnership with the EasyGift app.
Okay.
The EasyGift app, when it's automatically adding products to cart, works on certain rules or criteria being fulfilled, and then it will add the item to the merchant's cart. Now it requires, integration into their theme and making sure that everything sort of behaves itself throughout that process, and then it will work flawlessly. However, every now and again, you can get, either merchants, a lot of merchants are seeing customers browsing on mobile devices, and mobile devices, you can end up with, intermittent internet connection or anything like that could cause a slightly missed add to cart or missed trigger for the EasyGift app, and therefore we wouldn't get that add to cart request, and therefore we would miss the chance to run that promotion. However, with the Cartix app, it gives us the ability to own the whole, from the point when someone clicks add to cart all the way through to checkout. We would own that entire flow, which means we can make sure that we don't miss any opportunity to upsell the product. It also gives us a really neat method to give feedback to the customers and show them that they're approaching an offer. We can say spend another $5 and you can get another reward or things like that. So that's one of the ones that, again, it came from merchants asking for it, and yeah, that's what we're doing there.
Amazing. So talked about the setup within 506.io and how has that helped deliver great results. And specifically for that, we've talked about this previously, like your setup you've got with each app has got its own team. So you can talk me through how that all works, please.
Absolutely, yeah, sure. So we each of the apps themselves, the 4 big ones, they all have their own product managers, and then the product managers within their team, each app then has 2 developers as well. And we basically decided quite a long time ago, just based on how all the apps behave and the way that you can see their metrics and sort of seasonality and when each one is important and things like that, to treat each of the apps as their own individual business. And so we explain to the product managers, we basically say, look, you are running your own mini business and you are responsible for the whole thing front to back. We will oversee that as the sort of, as more senior members of the company. But fundamentally, we say to these guys, no, look, you guys get to run these apps. You can make the decisions. We're here to help, but it's up to you how you want to do it. And they look at the feature requests. They oversee the customer service and help with the more difficult questions. They get involved in various marketing initiatives, either going on other podcasts or things like that, or getting video reviews of the apps. And yeah, it's really great. It's really cool. We've predominantly got quite a young team. Most of the guys working with us are all under 30, and it's a really nice way for them to sort of be shown a chance to be, quite entrepreneurial, and give them quite a lot of free reign to go and be in charge of something, but also with a bit of a safety net as well. So it's a really nice way to work, and I think the guys really enjoy it. So.
Yeah. And they deal directly with their own customer banks or merchants on each app as well.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. So they can build up their own relationships with
Yeah, it's
certain
brilliant.
merchants and things like that. And everyone has their own sort of premium merchants that they speak to the most, or you ask for feedback for a new feature or something. So yeah, it's really
That,
cool.
that builds that trust and all that sort of element so much, doesn't it?
Absolutely, yeah, 100%.
It's massive. You have talked about this a little bit, I must admit, but from your previous life, in terms of being a retailer with watches, how do you think that's helped you better service your merchant as 506?
Yeah, I think that the big one for me, and I remember when we were running our store at the very beginning, is just understanding what life is like when you're running an online store, or if you're running an online business. Like, it is hard. Your day to day is hard, and the last thing that you want is some little app or widget or bit of software to be not working. And even if it's not working, it's not sort of giving you feedback as to why it's not working, or you can't get in hold of some customer support to
Yeah.
help you or anything like that. And I remember this, and I remember it so clearly, which is why we always said, we're not going to be like that. But I think our experience was just remembering how busy we were when we were trying to run the store. And it was just, even though there was two of us, it was everything, who's worrying about the marketing, who's worrying about the inventory, who's worrying about packing the boxes, all this kind of stuff. And then last thing you need is some bit of software to break or to not work, and not to tell you why it's not working, yeah, that was the big thing for us. So as soon as we
Isn't
came
it?
into the software side of it, it was just a case of knowing what these guys are going through on a daily basis and being like, I've been in your shoes.
Yeah. It's similar to sort of I'm hopping onto sort of myself a little bit here, like, but I've not always been in recruitment.
Yeah,
I started off in sales, selling products, selling whatever it is, but then I used a recruitment agency to try and hire people for me. And I think what annoyed me the most was I gave them detailed feedback about what I wanted in each role and how I wanted it to look. And then in terms of my feedback, I would give exactly the same detail on every individual candidate.
yeah,
And then I used to get arguments back from the other recruiters about, well, I don't agree with that about Joe Bloggs, because why I met him, I thought he was fantastic because of X, Y, and Z. I'm like, well, unfortunately, like, it's my team, I'm going to be paying for the service. If I don't think they're right, I'm not going to go for it, even though you're going to keep like going after it with me. So I think
absolutely.
it does make a big
Yeah,
difference, isn't it? Understanding I know each client or merchant are going to be different in terms of what they want, but just having that ability to step back and think, oh, actually, I completely get why that problem like needs solving, or why whatever it is there to sort of work on properly.
absolutely. Yeah, it's a really good example. And I think, yeah, exactly that. Like, you saw it in your sort of earlier days and things like that. And yeah, we had the same thing.
Yeah. So talking about the sort of team now, you've mentioned about sort of the giving each product manager their own sort of, if we're like P&L, if we were each business, and be commercially sort of responsible for that. How, in terms of the culture element, how do you think that's evolved as you've grown, and how have you been able to keep your team and developers, if you will, like focused on what they're doing?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is one of the things I've actually would say has been one of the challenges for sure. Definitely one of the hard things, and I hope we've done a good job of it. There's certainly times when I'd probably say we haven't done such a good job of it, but I think it's really important, and it's one of those things that it's very hard thing to sort of correct if it goes wrong. I think company culture is one of those things that only really goes one way. If it starts to go badly, pulling it back is really hard. So I think, I mean, I'd say first things that always starts at the top. You've got to kind of be, like, as managers, you kind of got to be good and sort of make sure that you do things in the right way. But certainly when you're growing, it's all about having good processes for when you're bringing new people in, because I think the easiest thing to happen, and I'm sure that you probably have this and plenty of other sort of your listeners have this as well, is that when you're busy and you've got a new person who's just started, and you try to give them as much time as you can, you've showed them how to do something once or twice, and the third time they don't quite get it, and it's very easy to sort of lose your patience a bit or anything like that. But you just got to remember, you've got to remember that everyone takes a bit of time, and you got to give everyone as much sort of support as they need. And so we always try to have a fairly sort of regular process whenever anyone joins us, or sort of onboarding and things like that, where they start off just by sort of shadowing someone, and then they sort of build up their involvement from there. So the idea being that they don't sort of get thrown in the deep end. And I think that's really important. But I think in terms of the sort of culture side of things, we find that, you know, you got to try, and particularly for a remote working business as well, I should probably say that, you know, pre-COVID we all worked in an office. Post-COVID we never actually went back to the office. We just stayed working remotely, and we continue to do so now. Our sort of structure is that we do every month we have 2 days all together where we all meet up in an office and we work together for 2 days. And then during that 2 days, you know, whilst it is important to get a lot of work done, we also focus on sort of everyone sort of working together and sharing ideas and things like that. And we'll go out for lunch and try and do an activity in the evening as well and things like that. So that's much more about team building as it is actually about getting work done for those 2 days.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important. You know, you've also got to remember that it's got to be fun too. You know, it's got to be fun, but you've also got to make sure that you're getting the work done too. That's always the balance.
Yeah. That's just tough, right? If you've got a product manager coming in to shadow somebody, that must be quite a challenge, as you say, like doing it remotely, to make sure they get the best onboarding as possible. How do you manage that? How do you sort of keep the new person like engaged with being just remotely sort of shadowing? How does that work?
Yeah, absolutely. It's really tricky. I think the key thing is to not be afraid to just get on a call. You know, video calls, all this kind of stuff these days. It's super easy, and you know, we're all users. The whole company's there using Slack and Instant Messenger, and you know, you can sit there and sort of type out something quickly as an instant message, but you do just have to say, you know what, just before you press send, just stop and think, would it be easier if I just, you know, got on a call? Just get on a call. If you're about to write something that you know you probably shouldn't write, probably just get on a call first. You know, it's that kind of thing really. And again, that's why I started off saying about patience. I think that's the key one particularly, is if you got someone who's just learning. And we always, you know, you try to get people who've got e-commerce experience, but it doesn't always happen. And every challenge is unique. As I'm sure you know, with the recruiting side of things, whenever people start, you know, it's not the same as any other job. Even if it is a similar idea, it might be in a different code language. It might be, you know, anything could be different. So I think that's the first one. And then we really encourage everyone just to write things down. So write things down. We've got a big sort of shared workspace. We use my software called Notion, where everyone can write down everything for all their apps. And we really encourage everyone just to share and to remember that whatever they're writing down about their app can be seen about by everyone else. So if someone's writing a very, very good sort of weekly diary of the changes that they're making, like a change log of the changes they're making to their app, that someone else can go and have a look at it too and go, oh, I really like the way you do that. I'm going to do that as well. Or a tracker for their, you know, top customers, or some way of monitoring performance metrics or anything like that. The idea that everyone can look at different ways of doing it. And then the last one is just early on and kind of always encouraging members of the team to talk to each other as well. It doesn't always have to be some sort of senior person talking to a junior person or anything like that. Everyone can have a chat with anyone. Doesn't matter. We always encourage that. Agreed.
Very good, mate.
Yeah.
And in terms of like for the future, I guess in a year's time, where do you see 506.io being, like in a year's time?
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be an interesting one. We've actually just gone through a period of hiring a few people this year so far. So I'm not sure if the headcount will necessarily increase over the next year. We might do maybe one or two. But I think the big one for us is really looking forward through the holiday season is a really big one for us in our app. So getting through that sort of unscathed as such is very important for us, and making sure that everything goes through without any damage. And then I think the big one will be in the next year, you know, when you get into January and February, which is quite a nice time as things sort of calm down a little bit, there's a bit less pressure, to really make a good plan for what we want to try and achieve in that next year. I think we need to really sit down and look at our goals, and I'm always big fan of sort of goal setting. I think so important, and making sure that you can have achievable targets. I had this, this might sound silly, but I always remember at school, we had this poster when I was quite young. We had this poster on the wall with a picture of a dartboard and an arrow in the middle. And it said at the top, if you aim at nothing, you'll hit it. And for ages, I sat there being like, I don't really get it. Like, there's a dartboard, there's an arrow in the middle, like, makes perfect sense. But obviously, the whole concept is it's easy. If you don't have any goals, you're always going to hit the goal because you don't have any. And that took me a really long time to sort of really understand and figure out and apply that to business has been really important. And I think making sure that, we set very high level company goals and then translating those down then to the team members and to the product managers, and then applying app specific goals and making sure you get buy-in from the team. You've got to make sure that you sit down with those product managers and say, hey guys, how do you feel about this? Like, this is where we want to get to in a year's time. We want to grow by 30%, 50%, let's say. How do you think we're going to get there? Do you think this is reasonable? And what do you need to get there? Do you need a bit more dev support at the beginning, or our apps only have one developer each? And then it quite quickly became clear we needed two.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Amazing. Okay, good. Really good, mate. Well, I really appreciate your time, Alex. Like, you're it sounds like it's going to keep growing, which is obviously amazing. Is the watch business ever going to come back in like a different world, do you reckon, or is that completely?
I don't know. It might do. We had some conversations about it the other day and thinking we might bring it back. So watch that space. Run it back. You never know. Yeah. You can join the team voting to bring it back. Every now and again, I meet a few people in the street or friends and stuff, and they say, "That's a nice watch," and I go, "Oh well, you might be able to buy one again soon." So we might do. I think. Weirdly, one of the reasons why we're quite keen to bring it back actually is because we touched on it, I mentioned it a few times, but this idea that, you can only build the software to help merchants and people running online stores if you're running one as well. So I think almost for that reason as well, we want to get back into it, and we really enjoyed it is the other really honest answer. It was great fun. So watch this space. It might be back.
Love that. Well, when you release it again, let me know and I'll just pop it up on this is a Fossil one, if I'm not listening from Fossil, but
nice work, Luke. I like it.
But yeah, absolutely. And Alex, again, just thank you so much for your time, mate. It's really been great chatting with you, and I love what you guys do, and I really hope that 506.io just keeps flying and in essence just deliver great service, mate, because you guys are class. So yeah, keep going.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, Luke. Appreciate the time. And thanks for having me on board. Brilliant.
Pleasure. Thank you as well, mate.
Cheers. Thanks a lot. Bye.